Dear viewers, most welcome to my channel NAGA Conflict Zone. No peace for Palestine until impunity and immunity cease. Hear the profoundly moving words of Samir, one of the courageous women from Sheikh Jarrah whose homes are to be stolen and bulldozed, but who stand up to security forces and extremist settler hooligans. I built I built my house brick by brick, stone by stone. I raised my children here 70 years, and now they are claiming it's there and want to force us out. With our own hand, we will resist the occupations and keep resisting until the last moment of our lives. The only surprising things about the spontaneous outburst of Palestinian anger is that it took so long to explode. This latest intifada didn't erupt when Donald Trump illegally sought to surrender Jerusalem, the Golan or the Jordan Valley to Israel, or after any of a thousand other provocations, nor did it happen at the behest of Palestinians' incompetent leaders or of Hamas. Attempts to evict Palestinian family from their homes in occupied East Jerusalem struck a bitter chord throughout Palestine and around the world. Many of these long-suffering families were made homeless once before, when Zionist forces drove them out of their ancestral home in Haifa and Jaffa during the 1940 conflict, and now Israel seek to evict them all over again using the fig leaf of a justice system for measures which violate international law and transgress the most fundamental principles of human decency. In the face of the tsunami of Palestine and global anger, an Israeli court has delayed the eviction decision, but according to the peace now, up to 2,000 Palestinian homes throughout Jerusalem are under threat of demolitions. While inhuman restrictions on building permits have forced countries Palestinians resident out of their city altogether, as one shelter taunted a Palestinian family. If I don't steal your home, someone else will steal it. Let's be clear about this. These racist land grabs are long-standing official Israeli policy seeking to inexorably throttle Palestine out of existence in their own capital by rendering it impossible to live or own home. This is the very definitions of ethnic cleansing and apartheid. Benjamin Netanyahu has staked his entire political career on sabotaging one peace initiative after another, while squeezing Palestinians out of their land based on the impossible premises that through stealth and net force they can eventually steal their entire land of Palestine. Instead, all these All they achieved was making the explosion inevitable. You can't humiliate people, detain them, brutalize them, steal their homes and land, and then denounce them for throwing stones. Biden's administration is unwittingly playing Netanyahu's game through the naive belief that they can simply ignore the Palestine questions for 4 or 8 years. Does Biden still believe this effect after recent events? Just as culpable are all those government and media outlets who fail to speak out for fear of being viciously attacked by the pro-Israel lobby. If the world allows Netanyahu and his extreme right thugs to erase Palestinians from existence, what about the peoples of Xinjiang, Myanmar, Syria, Kashmir, and Tibet, who also face cultural and physical exterminations? By failing to hold Israel to account, while providing Israel with billions of dollars of funding each year, we have taught Israel that it can get away with murder, and that the mob of racist settlers can enjoy impunity in attacking and harassing innocent citizens. Sorry. These accumulated attempts to ignore or eradicate the issue have reaped their bitter fruit in creating these appalling and untenable situations, which is the work of United Nations is escalating toward a full-scale war. I am no supporter of Hamas, their regressive governing style, and their attachment to Iran. Whatever Hamas' motivations for firing these rockets and taking into account the fundamental imbalance in power between Israel and Palestine, all they can hope to achieve is provoking yet another full-scale invasion of Gaza. We know how this ends, with the destructions of tens of thousands of homes and thousands of dead Palestinian civilians, murdering innocent people on either side only exacerbate these cycles of death. Statement from Netanyahu and President Rivlin last week contained a note of panic, not only as barrage of rockets struck Israel and Jerusalem erupted in flames, but as communities within Israel itself came out on the street and embarked on program and racist lynching and Israeli mob buying for blood, dragged a man out of his car and beat him to the pulp just because he looked Arab. Suddenly, Israeli leaders saw the specter of 1947 replying itself and various communities of Palestine coming out to tear each other apart in a conflict that could destroy the very foundations of their Zionist project. Such is the way racism has been nurtured and even encouraged within Israeli society. Such is the corrosive nature of the state's Jewish supremacist policies. Such are the underlying social hatred that had festered for over 70 years, that if an intercommunal war did fully erupt within the bosom of Israel, It could rapidly becomes a murderous at the ethnic and tribal conflict of Bosnia, Rwanda, Libya, and South Sudan. This is not the Arab or a Muslim issue, but an issue for humanity. This just cause to end all just causes. If the world allow Netanyahu and his extremist rice thugs to erase Palestine from existence, what about the people of Xinjiang, Myanmar, Syria, Kashmir, and Tibet who also face cultural and physical exterminations? The Middle East can know peace only when a just solution grants Palestinians their full nation right. Sorry, Mr. Biden, but ignoring Palestinians will not make it go away. The dignity, resilience, and pride of the Palestinian people should be an inspiration and a lesson to us all. This is a question of whether we are a species that possesses a conscience. As human, we should be defined by our humanity and our readiness to act against manifest injustice. How many mothers have already lost their children and their homes? How many more times must be passively witness countless human lives being torn to pieces? Netanyahu may be a mass murderer, but the failure to act in defense of justice rests upon our shoulder. This blood is on our hand as once again we sit back and watch hundreds more children buried under the rubble of their own homes. Baria Almuddin is an award-winning journalist and broadcaster credited